Okay, everyone, let's dive in. Today, we're going to peel back the layers of consciousness itself. And we're not going to treat the mind like some kind of mystical black box. Nope, we're going to look at it as a piece of biological machinery. It's incredibly sophisticated, sure, and unbelievably convincing. But let's start with an idea that might feel a little unsettling. Just think about that for a second. You feel like you're in the driver's seat, right? Like you are the one thinking your thoughts. But what's fascinating is that modern neuroscience and ancient contemplative traditions are starting to say the same thing. They both suggest that the experience of you deciding to do anything is actually an after effect. The thought just shows up, fully baked, and only then does this sense of I rush in to claim ownership of it. And this phenomenon, we call it the biological forgery. It's kind of like your mind writes a check and your sense of self rushes to sign it after it's already been cashed. The I that you think of as you, it's basically a press secretary, showing up to take credit for decisions that were made deep down in the cognitive basement, long before it ever got the memo. So, if we're not the ones writing these thoughts, what's actually going on? How does all the raw data from the world turn into our subjective reality? Well, it's not magic. It's more like a manufacturing process. A 4-stage assembly line that runs so incredibly fast, you just perceive it as one single seamless event. And it happens in a blink. First, there's a sensory hit, light hitting your eye, sound hitting your ear. Second, your brain slaps a label on it. This is a pattern recognition step that some ancient traditions called samana. Third, a value gets injected. Is this good for me or bad for me? And fourth, a story is fabricated to explain that value judgment, a process known as Sankhara. What's amazing is how well these ancient terms map onto our modern cognitive models. Let's actually see how this assembly line works with a really simple example. Let's take this whole industrial model and apply it to something that seems totally natural and simple, the act of seeing a flower. You know, it feels direct, it feels pure, personal even, but it's actually the perfect showcase for this entire automated process we're talking about. Okay, so the end product that rolls off the assembly line is the feeling, right? The subjective experience. You look at a rose and what arrives in your consciousness isn't a collection of petals and photons. No, what arrives is the complete concept of beauty. It's a pleasant, desirable experience. That's the finished product, delivered right to you. But let's rewind. What did your hardware, your physical eye, actually detect? It wasn't beauty. Your retina, the sensor, it registered nothing more than specific frequencies and patterns of light. That's it. Just raw, neutral data. So the big question, the really crucial question is, where did the beauty come from? It came from stage 4, fabrication, or Sankhara. You see, beauty isn't an actual property of the flower, it's a story. It's a value judgment that your mind projected onto the raw data of those light patterns. In a very real, neurological sense, you are hallucinating the value. You aren't really seeing the flower, you're seeing your own story about the flower. And this is exactly where the fabrication traps you. If your brain labels the light pattern beauty, you feel desire. You want to get closer, you want to hold on to it, make the moment last. If it labels another plant weed, you feel aversion. You want to pull it, to get rid of it, to escape it. See what's happening? In both cases, you've completely stopped engaging with the thing itself. You're now just lost in a feedback loop with your own reaction. Now, the logical question that every single student asks me at this point is, okay, professor, if my mind is running on autopilot, how do I grab the steering wheel? And that is the most natural impulse in the world, but it reveals the deepest misunderstanding of how the system actually works. Exactly. This is the goal for so many people who start meditation or try to practice mindfulness. They want to find the off switch. They want to silence the mind, quiet the ego, stop that constant chatter. Their goal is to intervene and take control. And this just nails the paradox. That desire to stop the thoughts, that sense of I that's trying so hard to be in control, is just another product from the same factory. It's another fabrication, another Sankhara. Trying to suppress thought with more thought is precisely why so many people get frustrated with mindfulness. It's like trying to put out a fire by throwing more wood on it. You're just fueling the very process you're trying to stop. So if trying to control everything is a dead end, what's the alternative? Well, the solution isn't a new action. It's a radical shift in perspective. It's about moving from the role of the factory owner, who feels responsible for every single product, to becoming more like an impartial quality control inspector, just watching the items go by on the conveyor belt.
This shift in perspective is what some traditions call right-seeing or samadhi. You see, the goal was never to shut down the factory. That's impossible. The goal is to see the assembly line so clearly and recognize its automated nature so quickly that you stop automatically forging the signature of I onto the products. You simply observe the process.
Now let me be super clear about something. This isn't being presented as a philosophy or something you have to believe in. Think of it more like a technical manual for your own cognitive hardware. We're just describing the system's standard operating procedure. It's a diagnostic, not a doctrine.
So we'll end on this thought. The factory of your mind is going to keep running 24/7, churning out thoughts, feelings, and everything you call reality. You can't shut it down. So the only real question left for you to answer is this. Are you going to keep pretending you own the factory? Or are you going to start simply reading the labels on the boxes as they pass by? Your entire experience of life really does depend on that answer.